my last BMW review, I had a blue F80, brand new, bought it off the lot, 0 miles on it. To be honest, I enjoyed the car, it was good, but I traded that car and I got a Lamborghini LP 580. Drove that for about 7 months. Long story short, I used some of the positive equity I had in the Lamborghini, traded into this M5 competition package, 2019, fully loaded. I mean, it's got carbon all over the place. We'll get into it, we'll show all the details, the specs, but today's an exciting day. I actually am here at Corsa Technic down here in South Florida, and what I'm doing is getting a Stage 2 tune as well as ARMYTRIX downpipes. So I am extremely excited. My parts are here, they're in, but before we do the swap, before we put the downpipes in, I do want to get a before video and just show you guys the M5 competition package 2019, fully loaded, what it sounds like, what it feels like, how it drives. More importantly, so that if you're looking at this car, you can make a decision and say, you know, is this a car that I want to have? So start here with some starts. Mode, have everything in efficient, comfort. So 3 settings in BMWs, which I'm sure you're familiar with. You have the engine power, you have the suspension, you have the steering. All are set on the basic level mode. So exhaust is open right now, but it's actually in efficient mode. So, not much, but that's the power of this car, because you can be cruising on the road, driving quietly in this big body car, and with a flip of a switch, you're igniting over 600 horsepower in this car. I believe it has 617 horsepower stock. So we'll put this into sport now. You can hear the exhaust note change a little bit. Sounds good, right? You're like, okay, yeah, now it's starting to sound like an M5. Now we're gonna put it into Sport Plus. Yeah. That's the fucking crazy part about this thing. When you're driving it, you can go from being just a subtle car, sedan, 4-door, on the road, cruising, to literally tapping a button twice, or if you have your M modes preset, boom, click here with my thumb. I'm in Sport Plus across the board, and this thing just completely moves. Stock, what is this? 0 to 16, like?
Oh, about 3 seconds.
3 seconds
yeah.
Stock in Sport Plus. So, Jonathan says after the tune, the car is actually gonna go from 0 to 16 about 2.3 to 2.5, which is McLaren level type fast. So I'm gonna call this car the Lambo Killer. When I get it tomorrow night, we're gonna show you guys the drives after and how that feels. But for now, let's get in the car. We'll just go for a quick spin. I'll show you guys the steering dynamics, the engine, how it feels, all that good stuff. I've never personally owned a 5 Series M5. Again, I had the F80 M3, I've had an E93 M3, and progressively, of course, technology grows, and there are some things added into these cars that are just game changers. But I want you to take a look at this dash right here and see the technology, see all the buttons, see all the features. What is really, really cool and little things that stand out in this car to me is, of course, here you have your 3 buttons, right? The steering, suspension, engine power, setup, very simple, traction control, exhaust. You can actually turn the exhaust on and off, right? So if you're in efficient mode, might as well turn the exhaust off. But when you go in that sport, super sport mode, you press this, it illuminates, and the exhaust flaps are open. You have your parking sensors, cameras, all that good stuff. Now, where it gets cool for me and what I've never experienced in a car is these buttons right here, right? You not only have the heated seats, but you have the air-conditioned seats. Now, to you, that might sound, oh, yeah, I know they have that. That's pretty basic. Well, let me ask you, does your car also have massage? They actually have 2 full-blown massaging seats in this car. The passenger as well as the driver has a massage while you're driving. I actually got distracted the other day. This thing's like pressing my butt. I'm like, all right, I gotta stop this. So, but crazy, you actually can be driving in here, cruising, getting a back massage with air conditioning seats on a hot day, cold day. You have the seat warmers, all that stuff. You got the paddle shifters, pretty big. I'm coming from the Huracan though, so to me they seem somewhat normal. The one thing that I do like in the Huracan is that the paddle shifters were fixed actually to the like steering wheel base. In the M, they're kind of stuck. Well, they are stuck on the wheel. So if you're turning, right, you can't necessarily paddle shift as easily. Whereas the Huracan, when you're turning, you can kind of hit the paddles from any angle. But again, not a Lamborghini. It's a BMW M5. Can't get too over the top here. So fixated paddle shifters, pretty good size. I mean, very easy to shift. But let's back up here and go for a little drive. So the camera systems on these things also, just within a couple years, have changed dramatically. I mean, just the technology that goes into these cameras, the sensors showing you how far you are, the track, all that stuff, so helpful, especially if you live in city or places where, you know, parking might be a little bit tight. So right now we're gonna go in efficient mode here. So we're in efficient comfort. Again, just like a very smooth ride. You pull up next to somebody at the light, you know, they just see a beautiful looking BMW, everything's good, but I don't want to drive in that mode. We'll go here to Sport Plus. Let's see if we can do a little launch. So that's almost 0 to 60. I mean, the craziest thing about this car is that you're not getting that dramatic V10 right in your back here, right? You don't have the V12 sitting in the chassis in the back. In this car, you have a twin turbo V8 pushing out over 600 horsepower in a sedan body with crazy technology that I can't even get into because that's just not what I'm knowledgeable on. But what I know is that when you hit this fucking gas pedal, this thing moves and it feels like you could be going slower than a Lamborghini or Ferrari, but in reality, this thing is dusting them. This thing is going to beat them 9 out of 10 times. Now, what happens when we put downpipes and a stage 2 tune on this thing? We'll have to see. So this is stock, right? You have the competition package exhaust, which is designed by Akrapovic, wholesaled to BMW. So it technically has Akrapovic exhaust. And what I'm getting is ARMYTRIX downpipes. But again, stock on here, you have the competition package exhaust. And it sounds great. Here we go. I'm extremely happy with this car, right? Going from the Huracan to M5 competition. Obviously, when you go from a car, you know, like a Lamborghini, there's a lot of preset feelings when you're driving, going from a coupe with a V10 to a big body sedan with a twin turbo V8. Whole different feel, whole different style of car, but I'm really happy with this choice. It's a great daily driver and it also gets it, which is just the best part about this car. So specifics here again, nothing too crazy has changed. You have your M1, M2 preset, so if you have 2 drivers, you could each set your dynamic driving option. For me, my M1 is just Sport Plus, Sport Plus, Sport Plus, which is the only way that you should drive this car if you're gonna preset a mode. Gas mileage, everything like that is pretty decent on this car. Everything, to be honest, has been great. There's clearance in the front. You're not denting up the you know, the front of the car. You're not hurting the fenders. There's 2 splitters on the car. I haven't had a problem once. It sits low, it tucks in, it looks great, and just drives like a beast. So let's go on the outside. I mean, the back seat's pretty spacious in here. You know, you could fit 5 people easily, whereas coming from the coupe, you know, Lamborghini, you get 2 people. So another big thing with having the M5, and even, you know, going from the M3 to M5, the M3 you can have people in the back, but it is a little bit tighter of a ride, right? You got to move the seat up, you're kind of stiff. This car, there's so much room for every single person in that you can really relax and still have 4 or 5 people in the car. All right, so on the outside here, competition package, it's just aggressive. My favorite part of this car is the back end. All carbon fiber rear diffuser. You have the carbon fiber exhaust tips with the M Performance exhaust, which again is Akrapovic, but M Competition, they stamp it, they have a deal with Akrapovic. But just a lot of carbon back here. The diffuser, the exhaust tips, you have the spoiler coming around the edge, sitting on 20s back here with more carbon all the way along the edge. You have the side splitters here, the M Performance stickers. I mean, we put the carbon right here, carbon splitters on the front, carbon vents. I saw this car and something about it got me. I think it's a very unique looking M5.
Gonna make a goddamn mess.
So this is coming straight from
Germany.
ARMYTRIX, baby. I see this stuff on the ventures and stuff. This is top notch.
Yeah, top notch. Top notch. That I think is a primary.
So we're deleting the primary
and
cats
secondary.
and secondary cats,
Yep.
which is the old. That's it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And after that, you have resonators, but it's not.
You don't want to get into that.
Yeah, because then you get rasp, and you don't want any of that in that car. Just you try to mitigate as much rasp as you can. You just do it.
So those are the primaries.
Those are primaries, and then.
Which are closest to the engine, or closest
Yeah,
to the
that's close to the turbo. These are right beyond the
this
turbos.
is nice.
These are the secondaries. Generally, people just do these. But
We're going all in.
yeah, we're going.
Yeah. This is boom. This is. So I just picked up the car and it's insane. So this thing went from pushing, I think like 613 it is, horsepower to almost 800, to the actual wheel, low 700s. The torque is up in the 800s. I mean, this thing has turned into a fucking monster. When I turn it on, it honestly is the loudest car I've ever owned. It's louder than the Huracan on a pure cold start, louder than the Huracan. I honestly would recommend, if you have the M5, they made it very modest stock, but if you open this thing up, it sounds like a fucking animal. Statistically, Jonathan, the guy who is my mechanic and installed all this, claims this would smoke the Huracan. Like, smoke it. He says if you put this in full launch control, like full race mode, and you launch it, it's gonna go 0 to 60 in 2.5 to 2.7. The Huracan was like 3.2, which is noticeably faster in the car. And to me, the Huracan has a feeling like it is faster because it's more raw. You have the engine right behind you. It's really small. The cabin, everything is just in Lamborghini, like so based off of the feeling and the excitement. This car is this big body beast of a sedan that's pushing, 200 plus more horsepower, 200-300 pounds more torque, and this gives me like that roller coaster feeling. It's a little bit more electronic, right? It's got the turbos, but again, this tune I just feel like has completely, the tune and the downpipes, I'm getting the noise now as well as the speed, which I think it was lacking when I first got it, because obviously going from an exotic car to this, what's cool though is if you just put it back in efficient mode, it doesn't pop. So if you just want to drive around and still get a little, the sound is there, but it doesn't have that aggressive loud pop. So if you're going through like a community and neighborhood, or like a downtown area, or you just feel like cruising on the highway, not in sport mode, here, you'll be able to hear that. So you still get the sound, but then there's no backfire, which is great, because not always do you want to feel like you're blowing gunshots out of the back of your car. I mean, that's 0 to 58. I will say, if you live in a, like we live in Miami, so it's very, like they just got so much other shit to worry about than loud cars. But if you're in a small town with this car, you will be a target. If you do downpipes and tune it, just the noise, like I can't even imagine driving this around in my hometown. I would 100% get pulled. So you definitely got to make sure that you're being conscious and aware, because this thing is fucking loud and people can hear it coming from a little bit away.